Hey everyone! We recently went to Guadalajara, Mexico for 5 days and we skipped a rental car completely. We didn't take a single taxi either and we relied entirely on Uber. So I have to tell you all about how that went for us. First things first, when you're leaving the airport, just know I've also added this in another video, but you cannot get an Uber directly at the airport for the pickup. You have to walk outside of the airport, go to the nearest gas station, and call the Uber there. So I wanted to make sure I added that in here as well because it's something that is not talked about all of the time, but Ubers are not able to pick you up from the airport there in Guadalajara. So once we got to the gas station where we wanted to get the Uber from, we took that Uber to the Americas area is where we were staying at. It's like a neighborhood suburb-ish of Guadalajara. I will say the airport itself is pretty far out of the city, so the most expensive Ubers for us were the ones we were taking to and from the airport. In total, we spent around 35 to 45 on a one-way from the airport or to the airport. Another good call out is we were constantly ordering Uber XLs when it came to the airport because we had luggage with us. And I will say the Uber XLs are not as big as Uber XLs in the US. They drive different cars. I don't know if they just allow for like medium-sized cars to be Uber XL, but keep that in mind. If you have a bigger party and you have luggage with you, I definitely suggest ordering an Uber XL and not going anything smaller. Now, once we were at our Airbnb, the rest of the Uber rides were fairly cheap because they were just taking us into the city to hang out and do different events. We went to a Lucha Libre show, and so going into like the certain meeting points for the different events we were going to, it was about, I would say, anywhere between $5. I'm gonna say that again. One of the Uber rides was literally $5.31. And then I think the rest of them were about like between $8 to $12. So the Uber rides are fairly cheap. Like I said, we stayed in like the Colonial Americas area, so we weren't really far out of the city, but just enough to where we had to take an Uber ride in and we couldn't walk to get to some of the meeting points where we needed to get to. Another cool thing is Guadalajara has a lot of like day trips outside of the city and a lot of things that include the transportation as well. So if you can do that and you don't have to rent a car or take a taxi, definitely do that. It was very easy to go to the different meeting points via Uber and then hop on the transportation that they provided for us. I also want to go back to the point of Mexico having different cars. So I live in the US and I'm really familiar with the cars that are on the Uber app. I usually know what they look like, or at least what the symbol looks like to look out for. But in Mexico, they drive cars that are of a different brand that are not in the US. So pay attention to that. I can't even think of the brand or of the logos that I was seeing because they were so unfamiliar to me. So for the 5 days total, it was about 203 USD for the Ubers that we were taking around the city, taking to the airport. And I thought this was really great in comparison to a rental car cost for those 5 days, that which also would include like fuel, parking, and tolls, and just navigating unfamiliar roads. So I'm really happy we went with this option of just taking Ubers everywhere. Like I said, the largest Uber charges were from the airport to the airport. Other than that, once we were in the city, the Ubers were fairly cheap, and I do think if you're able to take cash, paying in pesos, the drivers seemed genuinely so appreciative every time we paid them with pesos cash. So I wish you lots of luck if you're going to Mexico, and I hope you found this guide helpful. Don't forget to drop it in the comments if you have any questions or just feedback on how your travel went.